Welcome! I'm so glad you're here. I'm Camille from Chicken Scratch and Sniff, and today we're going to talk about LDS teaching tips for the primary classes that are about 4 to 6 years old. And the thing I wanted to mention was that no matter what age you're going to be teaching, and no matter how long you've been teaching, the most important thing to do is to pray and to experiment with your class. So I'm going to give you, 7 basic tips plus 10 more ideas for things that you can do in your classroom for 4 to 6 year olds. But I'm giving you so many ideas because different things are going to work with different classes. So you're going to have to measure the maturity of your class, get to know your class and figure out what they like, and pray about it and to figure out what works with which lessons better, okay? So experimenting is absolutely part of the process, and you're probably going to do it all year long because you want to keep implementing new teaching tools all the time. And that's why we have those teaching tips up on the blog. I just shared 2 new ones this past week. And one of the ones that for this age group especially that you're going to want to check out is 6 more ideas for using coloring pages. There's 2 coloring pages posts on the blog. The first one has 10 ideas for how to use the same coloring pages, and the next one has 6 ideas for using coloring pages. Because there's coloring pages for everything, right? That's the easiest part to find. And so you don't always want to color though, and so I give you a lot of ideas on how to mix them up, how to adapt them to older classes or to younger classes and really make them work. Hi, welcome. So be sure to check those out. Again, it's cknscratch.com, and if you click on the teaching tips tab, you'll find all those tips there. So the basics for teaching ages 4 to 6. Some of the things that you just need to keep in mind every week, no matter what, and to make them habits, pretty much, is number 1 is probably the most important, is to maintain eye contact. For this young group, they want to look at you and look you in the eyes, and if you're not looking back at them in their eyes, they're going to go do something else. If you're not paying attention, they're going to go off and dance in the corner, right? Or they're going to go hide behind the chairs. So you got to maintain eye contact. And so that means that when you're preparing your lesson, you know how they share those stories in the manuals, is that you're going to have to know those stories forwards and backwards so that you can just simply summarize them to your class and adjust them for your class's needs and not look back at your manual. That also means that when you're preparing your lesson, you're going to prepare more of an outline instead of writing it out word for word. If you need to write it out just for you, you can, but then you're going to make an outline after that and use that during your class. You're not going to use the manual per se, you're going to use your outline and kind of go from there so that you're maintaining as much eye contact with your class as possible. The other thing, and most of you probably already know this, but just as a reminder, is use the break from sharing time to class time, or if you have your class right after sacrament meeting, make sure you remind the parents to take your kids to the potty and to go get a drink of water. Do it on your way to class, get it out of the way, because if you have to interrupt class to go to the potty, it's not as fun. Unless it's a planned scheduled break and you're doing it, that's fine. But I like to get it out of the way right before class and it's done, okay? You don't have to leave the room anymore. The other thing is, number 3's tip is short home visits and even letters in the mail make a huge impact, especially at this age. Like with the 4-year-olds, a lot of them are still nervous to come, even if they went to Sunbeams before. Some of them didn't ever go to Sunbeams like mine. But so they're still struggling to get to class every week. And then if there's somebody that doesn't come every week, if they can make a connection with you in a different area, it helps them come and feel more comfortable. So take that extra effort and go visit all your class for like 5 minutes on a Sunday. Or write a note and send it in the mail with your picture, so they can at least put a picture together with who you are, and they know that you love them. And mail, any kind of real mail, is a big deal, right? So they'll love that, and that will make a really big difference in their trust for you and getting to know you. Okay. Plus, it also allows you to see them in another environment, so you can see how they behave with their parents and how they behave in your classrooms, and kind of give a few tips that way, and you can talk to the parents and know if there's any allergies or anything that you need to know about. Number 4, it's going to be all about your attitude. With the young kids especially, but always, no matter what you're teaching, it's all about the attitude. So if you're going to come to class, be enthusiastic. If you're dreading it, you got to try as best as you can to fake that enthusiasm, because the kids can pick up on it and it's going to make a huge difference. Another reminder is remember to dress for the job. Sometimes when we get dressed in the morning for church, we want to look good, right? Which is great. But remember that you might be on the floor for that whole day, or you might be bending a lot. So make sure that you're dressing in things that are comfortable and easily to sit down on the floor in, okay? And then this goes for all ages. Break it up. Break up your lessons with different teaching styles, different methods, but constantly break it up. The younger age you get, the more you got to break it up. The older you get, you can kind of space it out a little bit, but even adults need lessons broken up a little bit. So with Sunbeams, you're probably going to change activities every 5-10 minutes. And with the 6-year-olds, maybe you can stretch it out to 15 minutes. But you're going to have to use different teaching styles to keep their method, to keep their focus, and their involvement in your class. And then last but not least is if the great thing about if you have a 4-year-old class, usually they try to give you one of those bigger rooms that are next to the restroom, like the handicapped bathroom sometimes. And so if you have one of those bigger rooms, make good use of it. One of the things that I did in Sunbeams that I highly recommend if you're teaching Sunbeams as well, and you have the space for it, is that we had a table on one side of the room, and the other side of the room was just an empty floor space, and then we had a, kind of an entrance for the parents. And so if we were at the table, they knew that they could talk, and they could kind of wiggle around a little bit more, but if we were sitting on the floor, it was their turn to be quiet and to stay still. And so we would go back from the floor to the table, from the floor to the table, just to kind of get them moving around a little bit and for them to understand what they needed to do right then. So those are some just basics to keep in mind. Now on to the fun stuff, and that's probably the stuff that you want to know about, right? Hold on, let me switch my pages around. Some real things, is it getting dark in here? Maybe I can turn on the light, huh? Some real things that you can do in your lessons, okay? So I have some props and some examples for you. Absolutely take notes or pictures. I'll put this up on the blog, but again, it won't be for a little while, okay? So one of the first things you can do is play hide and peek pictures. So what is under, I have a construction paper over on top of another picture that I could use in my lesson, right? And so what you can do is you can have each kid come up if it's a younger class, or you can pick a couple if it's like the 6-year-olds, and you can just have one person peek at the picture at a time and be like, what's something that you see in this picture? And they can say, a guy on a wall, because this is Samuel the Lamanite. And then you ask the next person, you say, what else do you see in the picture? And sometimes you're going to get the same answer, but that's okay. And they can say, a bow and arrow. And so they can talk about different parts of the picture, and then when everybody has gone or you're ready to move on, you can flip it over and you can start talking about the pictures and point out all those different things that everybody saw. So you're involving them in this picture already, and then you can move on from there, okay? And so you could do that with lots of different pictures throughout your lesson several different times if you need to. Number 2 is you can play memory. Thanks, Mom. So a couple ways to do memory, though. A lot of the lessons have simple activities, and they'll even tell you, hey, play this matching game. Well, here's kind of the twist that you can do on it is so as they get a match, they can say, repeat the phrase. So like in the Sunbeam manuals, hi Sherry, there's often a phrase that they want you to focus on. So it's like, I'm a child of God. So as they get a match, they say, I'm a child of God. Here's another way you can do it. So if somebody gets a match, then you ask them a question instead of having them repeat the phrase. Or in like the 6-year-old classes or 7-year-olds even, is if they answer the question, then they get to go and try to make a match. So you can kind of do it a couple of different ways to incorporate those type of games. Number 3, this is my favorite one, but I know that a lot of people are hesitant to do it, but I think you should jump into it. And it's all about glue, okay? Now I understand that glue is messy and can be a big problem. So here's what you do, okay? Here's the original handout that I just had my 4-year-old do, okay? So it's just a simple handout, nothing too crazy, and it's easy to add things to, right? So, and if you're in a 4-year-old class, you're not gonna give them this bottle of glue, but you're gonna put the dots on the stars for them and then give them the supplies to glue on, okay? So that's what I did, is I just put some dots here and he glued on the shapes, and that's all I had to do, and so it's not that messy. Plus, glue comes off easy, don't worry. And you can also do stickers. The problem that I have with stickers is that a lot of kids just don't know how to peel them off the paper by themselves, especially if they're cheap stickers. So I like to glue better. But those are just some ideas. So he added flowers and stars and hearts and stuff. Really easy. And it's not coloring, but it's using that coloring page, right? Thanks. And foam shapes work really well for that kind of thing. Even, I don't recommend the ones with the peel on the back because then you have a lot of trash and that makes a bigger mess than if you were to glue, okay? Number 4 is that kids absolutely, especially at this age, but you know, we all really do, love to talk about ourselves, right? They love to talk about themselves. They'll raise your hand if they'll say, I got a new sister yesterday, or did you know my sister picks her nose? Like, they love to talk about themselves, right? So use that to your advantage, though. Make sure all your questions that you're asking obviously relate to the lesson, but specifically relate to the individual. Say, how are you nice to your brother? How are you nice to your sister? Because they want to talk about themselves, so use that to your advantage, and then it gets them talking. And then, of course, you have the problem of talking too much, but use it and try to get them to talk and make those kind of conversations, okay? Number 5 is sequencing. A lot of the time, the LDS helps that I put up, like that go back to lds.org, a lot of those actually include sequencing events. And so you can cut out the cards from the handouts and have them organize them in the right order. So if you're in the younger classes, you're going to do this all together as a big class, right? But if you're like in a 6-year-old class, what you can do is you can like split up into 2 groups, especially if you have 2 teachers. Have one teacher with one group, another teacher with the other group, that are just kind of overseeing, and let the kids kind of figure it out together on their own a little bit. And so that's a fun way. And then obviously you can have them do it individually as they get older too. But have them put those things in a sequence event. And then maybe if it's everybody has their own, you can put it into a book and they can bring that home as well. Okay? Or you can make it into like a flip book too if it's cool enough. All right. So first 5 ideas. Hide and peek picture. So you've covered the picture up and you have people talk about it. Number 2 is use memory matching games, but use them with the questions or with the phrases so that you're tying in the 2 together. And that way your matching game doesn't always have to be church related too. You can just use one of the ones that you buy at the store. 3, don't be afraid of glue. It's better than stickers, but just be in charge of it, right? And the thing is, you could put like yarn on, and you could put googly eyes on, and you could have all kinds of fun with the glue. Number 4 is make sure you involve questions that make them talk about themselves, because that's what they want to talk about anyway. And number 5 is sequencing. Okay, so 5 more ideas. So number 6 is kids are always hungry during church, right? Like, they're always hungry. So make snack necklaces, okay? These are Fruit Loops. You're going to have to find out if allergies and things like that. But Fruit Loops, I find, have bigger holes than Cheerios, and so they're easier to thread on. So you want a cereal that has big holes. And then this is just a cutout from the handout. So you can cut out one of the main pictures from the handout, punch a hole in it beforehand, have everybody color it, and then hand them the yarn and the cereal. So if they snack along the way, it's no big deal, and then they can make something in the process. I really like this for the younger classes because it helps them focus a little bit. And you have tape on the end, and you can tie a Fruit Loop on the other end so it doesn't come off. But it takes time, and they like to do it. And then they can wear it, and they really like that too. And they can eat it while you're teaching another part of the lesson, and you need them to be quiet. Okay? Number 7, file folders and interactive handouts. Okay? So, file folders. Whenever I find a good one, I try to put it on the blog for you. And I'll try to get together some more free resources as well for file folders. But I think they're really valuable, okay? Especially for the younger classes. They're really good to have in your teaching bag if you have extra time at the end of your lesson, or you can do this all together. Like if you have older classes, you can have them put on a piece or take off a piece and ask a question, or you can have them say a phrase or put it together and say, why did they put that on there, and things like that. So it's easy to find church file folders that go really well with the lessons. And if you can make one for everybody, and then they can take it home. And as a parent, I love you for that. The thing I like about this one, you don't have to do this, but if you want to, is that they laminated the entire folder, and they put this folder manila envelope they laminated this on there all together, and then they cut it out. So the pieces just go right here. And so I really like that. I really like the person who made this for us. It was very cool. All right, and then the interactive handouts. That's why I kind of give you those coloring pages ideas up on the blog. But here's like another one where you can just take things on and off and just interact more with the handout. So here's an example. If you have butcher paper, it's really great. Bring in some butcher paper and trace the kids. Like for, I think in Sunbeams and in nursery, they have these lessons that are all about the body. And it talks about, I'm thankful for my mouth, I'm thankful for my eyes, I'm thankful for my ears. So one of the things that you could do is you could trace the person the first time. Like there's a lesson that's like, I have a body like Heavenly Father. And I think that's in the Primary 2 manual as well. And so you can trace the individual on this big butcher paper, and they could color it in and write notes on it and make it all kinds of fun, which is a lot of fun, right? And then if you can bring it back every week, if you have multiple lessons all about it, you can add to it every week. So if you don't have butcher paper, that's okay too. We used just this black paper today, and I just drew it in a white crayon. And you could kind of talk about how we have spirits and how we have bodies and things like that too. But then, like, for example, one of the lessons is I'm thankful that I can see, and so you can glue googly eyes on, and then you can put stickers of things that they see, like birds and stuff. The next week is I'm thankful I can hear. So you put stickers of things that they can hear, like the cats. I'm thankful that I can touch and I have hands. And then so you can go on a scavenger hunt and find some things outside, bring them back and glue them to the pictures. So anything that gets them to do the handout and move around and glue it all together and use it like repeatedly is really good, because they get used to that kind of routine and that kind of activity. They know what to do, and they're excited to continue it and to finish it and put it all together. Number 8. Okay, so here's an easy one that you can do for any lesson. It's just add actions to everything. For example, if you have to say, I'm a child of God, you can have everybody act it out, right? You just make up your own actions. So you can make the baby pose, say, well, I'm a child, and then you can point to heaven for God. So I'm a child of God. And every time you say it, have everybody act it out. And so you can make up actions to anything, right? Any kind of phrases. And kids love that, and it gets them moving around in the right kind of way, right? All right, number 9 is animated storytelling. So this goes back to my enthusiasm tip from before. But if you're going to tell a story, especially from the scriptures, be animated about it. Be excited. Know it well enough so that you can do voices if you need to, or you can get a little crazy. Bring a pillowcase with a bandana and have your kids dress up as some of the characters in your story. Bring puppets. You can get a box and cut it out and do a little puppet show. Kids love that kind of thing, and it's perfect for this kind of age to keep their focus and to learn the stories, because they're going to remember it more because of your excitement for it. And then you could also, when you do tell your story, though, if you're going to tell a story from the scriptures, make sure you include at least a quote or a phrase or an entire verse, if you can, directly from the scriptures. So memorize it so that you're actually including the scriptures in your teaching as well, okay? And then the last idea is have lots of backup fillers. There are some lessons where you can only get through like 2 activities because the kids are so crazy that day. And then there's some lessons you've been through 10 activities and you still have time at the end of the lesson, okay? So always have a bag full of backup fillers. So these can be things like bubbles. So you have 5 minutes at the end of the lesson, you don't have anything else to do, blow bubbles, right? Nursery trick 101. Or if you have Play-Doh, get the Play-Doh out. If you have a table, tables are great to bring in the rooms and help keep kids organized. So bring some Play-Doh and bring some like laminated placemats so that the tables don't get dirty. But make sure that there's no like wheat allergies or something with the Play-Doh. And you could have them even make shapes of things when you're doing your lesson as well. Another easy end of the lesson filler is simple games. So you can do like follow the leader, you can do Simon Says, and you can give everybody an opportunity to be the leader for those type of games. And then absolutely know all the super fun primary songs, like Do As I'm Doing, Jesus Wants Me First, Then Beam, Once There Was a Snowman. Know all those songs and sing them at the end or in the middle of your lessons to break things up and to get kids wiggles out, okay? There's a ton of wiggle songs that you can learn and practice at home so that you can easily do it in your class, okay? So those are great fillers that you can just pull out whenever you need to. So those are all my ideas today. Thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it, and thanks for the hearts. I will come back next Thursday for tips for the older classes, and next Tuesday is going to be more family time ideas. You guys have a great week, and let me know if I can